Hey, hello, and welcome to the KQL tutorial series from Plug IT. I decided, look, it's probably long overdue that we get started on a series where I can take you guys through the basic fundamentals of KQL. Now, just getting straight into it, KQL is for Kusto Query Language. It's the foundation upon which most of what you see in Microsoft Sentinel is built on. And for every function that we have, we use KQL. Among that there's JSON, and of course we can use regular expressions as well. But for today and for this course, we are only going to focus on KQL, Kusto Query Language. It is, of course, one of the more easier languages to learn. So if you've never done anything in code before, do not worry. I also don't have much of a coding background before I started in cybersecurity, but upon learning Microsoft Sentinel, that's when I was forced to understand and learn how KQL works, and I'm here to share that with you guys. All right, just to make it simple, I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. This bit, of course, being the first video of many, because this can get quite complex. But if your basis for everything is 100%, if you are very clear on everything that you do understand as far as KQL is concerned, then anything within the KQL language would be a breeze. It would be quite easy. So the why it's called Kusto Query Language or KQL, funny enough, or it is very similar to SQL or SQL. I'm sure that some of you watching this may have dealt with SQL before. It's a query language, so there's information and you need to query that information to be displayed. All right, that is one of the main functions or cores of KQL. Anything beyond that, you would need to program it in a manner as such. But we'll just be focusing on querying. So like any other language, this can be printed or programmed. So on the screen I've got a simple example here where I could simply just in the log section over here, by the way, in Sentinel, I could print, and then we have the result, and this is how it would project results. So if you've never dealt with it before, I want you to think of KQL as you are querying one giant Excel workbook, right? If you look in Sentinel, you would see on the, well, let me close that. You'd be able to see on the left over here, you'd be able to see these are different data sets that we have over here, right? You can see it, under different data tables. Now, I would like you to imagine these data tables as big Excel workbooks, that have rows and columns that are constantly being updated. Of course, as you know, Sentinel continuously ingests data from various sources, particularly from Azure. And this is what makes it simple, because it has rows and columns. And it's you could simply query certain information, just by putting rows and columns together. So in the sense, if I want to see what the latest sign-ins was, right, or if I wanted to check the sign-in logs, I would be querying this data set over here, the sign-in logs, and I've expanded that, and you can actually see here are all the different columns that we can query. All right. So I've exported this, and you don't really have to focus too much on me exporting it. I exported this just to show you guys how this actually looks. These are just the results that I've managed to export. We've got all these rows. You can see here it's got the date, the time, and everything. And then also it has these columns: the time, the resource ID, operation name, operation version. Eventually, at some point, I'll show you guys how to export data that you may have queried. But the thing is, the main thing to take away is this is one big data sheet. It's a data set. It's a source of information that you are querying, and you are basically saying, put A and B together, and you want this result that falls on such and such a date, to get information that you're looking for. So supposing that I am concerned, this is just an example hypothetically, I'm concerned about, my sign-in history, then a good place would be to to further my investigation, to build the case, would be to query various elements from the sign-in logs. So in this case, let's just say, for instance, I wanted to look at the sign-in logs. all I'd have to do is I could type sign and you could see the autocomplete is there already. It's already bringing up this, all the various operators that, can signal under that. So I am just hitting, sign in logs, and as you can see, it automatically pipes. But I'm not going to pipe anything just yet. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop this down and I'm going to look at the sign in logs for the last 30 minutes. Let's just have a look and see if we can find anything. I'm just going to click on run. Oh, and there we have some information. Look at that. So here, quite a few elements, and you can see that, this has brought everything in these columns down. Well, it's displayed everything in the columns that we can see. All right. So you could obviously, pick and choose what data it is that you want to see. I know that it does sound a little bit complicated, at the beginning, and all of this information is, I'm handing this over to you, but I implore you that if you do find it confusing, just go with it. Just keep going, and I guarantee you, it will sink in eventually. You will get it. Just keep on going. You just got to give yourself that belief and practice, practice, practice. All right. So continuing with the lesson, we can see that there are all these columns. You see, if I expand that, there are all these different columns with all this information. We can see that we've got, well, there's my username. We've also got the result type. That's interesting information. We could use that for investigations. And then we can also look at, well, there's location details. There's MFA detail. Wow. Those are all, really good information to have. We can even see the user agent involved. And, well, there's my display name, the principal name, once again of my, identity. There are various elements in here. Let's just see. There's even the IP address that you can see where I signed in from. So yeah, guys, this looks quite, interesting. So, if I was concerned about my sign-ins, I could probably filter and look for all of this information. If I wanted to understand, what was happening. But to be very honest, the this is quite messy. So I'm gonna use the KQL to refine my search, to refine the data that I want to see, and hopefully from there I'll be able to ascertain the pattern or some sort of triage that I can do, just basically from just the data that I'm putting in. Remember, I'm querying just blankly sign in logs, and I'm just looking at the last 30 minutes. All right, I could extend that, I could expand, I could refine this. So for instance, I could only see myself. If let's say for instance, if I shoot back to 7 days, let's see what happens. All right. Well, there's obviously a lot more data. All right, so well, what I'm going to do is I am going to include data where it only shows me, only shows the sign-ins for myself. So wherever I want to see and I'm going to query something from any data set, I'm going to pipe it, all right? And I'm going to select where, all right? Or you could type where as well. Make sure that there's a space after that. And I could simply say, where the user principal name, because this is a column, all right? This is a column. We're using the where operator. Using the user principal name column. I'll show you guys where that is. We've got this over here, the user principal name. We want to see this, all right, and we also want to see where it directly is, where it can only be where it equals myself, my name. All right, so it has to be 100% correct, the full user principal name. If anything is not spelled correctly, it's not going to bring back the correct data. For instance, well, let me run this quickly and I'll show you what this looks like afterwards. All right, so as you can see, it's bringing up all the data, but this data is only for myself. It's only for Zaid. All right, and just to reiterate what I was saying further, if I had to make an error and I'm leaving out the A, because this is showing equals directly to Zaid at Plug IT, but it's I'm missing a character. Let's see what happens. No results. Why? Because I spelled it wrong. I'm just going to add one A, as you can see over there. I'm going to run this again. Boom, we've got results. Now, if you're not entirely sure of the actual username that you're looking for, and perhaps maybe you don't know what the extension is, or the suffix is of the UPN. You could change that to contains, because that means that it's basically searching for anything unconditionally that has the word Zaid in it, where the usable principal name contains Zaid. All right, so I'm just going to query that, and there we go. So now you can see we have data, all right, because this is, even though that it's not the full user principal name, it's not the full ID, it's still hitting contains, whereas if we change that to the directly equals operator, my goodness, I don't know what that is. I should probably go and find that out. I forgot what that term is. Let's have a look quickly. And I'm going to drop this link because this is a KQL quick reference. Let's just do a search. We can see, as you can see, I'm not exactly perfect. Oh, okay, well, it's not there. But yeah, let's go back. By the way, this quick reference guide, I'm going to drop it in the chat. Yeah, as you can see, I'm hitting that where it's supposed to be pointing exactly to Zaid, and it's not bringing anything up. If I change this to contains, where it just looks for something blanket unconditionally, it's going to find something. So here you can see we're querying where the user principal name Zaid, right? What if we wanted a particular result type? All right, we could simply just remove this. We could look the sign-in logs, we could pipe this, and we could say where the result type equals 50140. Hit. All right, we can hit run, and there we go. So all the results that have this in the result type column, as you can see, there's result type there, the result type column, all of that has this in the result type column, it's only going to display this, of course. All right. But just, of course, be careful with this, because not all of these are 100% concise. Some of them have dynamic values. For instance, the device detail. It's very hard to put explicit operators in the device detail section. I'll show you what that looks like, because it always contains different data that's constantly different, because we have many different devices. We sign in on many different devices, and it doesn't always contain what we are looking for. Sometimes that information is missing because maybe for some reason the device is not onboarded onto the domain. Maybe it's there's something that is on the device that is blocking this from being seen. So we've queried that. Let's just do another one for for safety, just so that you guys can get it completely. Let's just look for another value. Let's see, multi-factor authentication. All right, well, maybe not that one. Let's have a look at something else. Let's see, level 4. What else can we see? What else is there? All right, location details. So we have, let's just see, there should be a subsection for location. There we go. South Africa, location South Africa. So what we can do, right, is we can take this out. We can look at the sign-in logs, where the location is not South Africa. I don't want you to worry too much about this right now. You will get to learn that, but basically what this is it's the opposite of this. But where you have an exclamation mark in front of the equal sign, it's basically says where this is not ZA. So let's have a look at this. All right, so this is giving us all of the the sign-ins where the country, the location that it's signed in from is not ZA. It's not South Africa. All right. So yeah, if I were to change this, all right, to equals, it will give me the sign-ins that is South Africa. All right. So let's have a look. There we go. So this is only giving the locations that is South Africa. And if I had to cancel this line out so that only the top right, only that line is running, then all I have to do is put 2 forward slashes in front of the line, and that would automatically just get cancelled out. This section will be invalid there. So I'm just going to query the sign-in logs, and we're going to see the different locations that come up over here. Let's just have a look. All right, there's locations in L. It's got all of these different locations in, we can see. So yeah, that's cool. So I'm going to uncancel that once again. All right, and bear in mind that the a new line doesn't necessarily have to begin on an actual new line. You could pipe right next to that where the location is ZA, and you could say where the UPN contains, let's say, right, and that's good enough for a pipe. And this would be, this is another pipe, so this will, equal another value that it's going to query. But of course the way that we do it is just, for continuity's sake, so that everything is a little bit more, easy to read and identify, just so that you can come back to this later and, find easily, that there's another pipe and another line here. And it makes use also for like identifying when you're busy, searching and troubleshooting, that you could simply just cancel this out if you needed to remove line 3 or 2 and without deleting it completely. But anyway, you can see that I've submitted another one, and I mean I can add multiple pipes, where I could some counts. I'm just adding another pipe. Don't worry about let's see, IP address. All right, 24 sign-ins. All right, and now I'm going to cancel that. Oh, there we go. Sign-ins from different IPs. Oh, we've got an IPv6 there. Isn't that interesting? Well, so let's just have a look at what we've learned so far. We've learned that we can query datasets. We can learn that we can put different operators and variables in these datasets. We can query by time easily just by selecting this top bar over here, custom. How do we get to this section? We get to it via the logs section within Sentinel. And what we've also learned is that these datasets that we see over here that is ingesting, they're basically just big, well, think of it like big Excel sheets that you can basically just query because they've got columns, all right, and rows. As you can see over here, if I'm just going to run this, I've highlighted this over here, I'm running. Here we've got the columns and here we've got the rows.